And finally, let me say this. Russia and China is not going to take no new more world order. See, Russia and the Asians, they are not going to submit to the Anglo and the U.S. and the European type of mindset. They're not going to be put under that. And they push buttons before they go to that. So you're having really a war of resources now. China's in Africa now, looking for resources for 1 billion people. India's looking around, and then America is telling them, well, listen, we don't want you there. We don't want you to do this. And they said, no, that's not going to happen. So what you're having is a resource war that the industrialized Asian nations want the same lifestyle that we have, and they're not going to be influenced, controlled, or dictated by the American oligarchy.
Let's close out. Let's do a little soup saying for the next 5 to 6 months, beginning of 2009. What's going to happen?
What you're going to have is a continued collapse in the economy. You're going to have the next 4 or 5 months, before Obama gets in, looking for more crisis in banks, further increase in prices. I mean, prices are really going to increase in the fall for beef, food prices, more layoffs to come. Oil will probably peak out. Gold and silver will probably take off. People will be more firmly pressed. And listen, foreclosures will continue to go through the roof. Real estate is a dead duck, but you got these foreclosures that are coming through at ever increasing prices. And then that will definitely slow the economy down. And on top of that, you got commercial real estate, it's dead. I mean, you go to these shopping malls now, and only the small stores, they're all gone. Small people, only anchors are there. So you got the commercial real estate that's gone. You got the housing market that's gone. You got really hyperinflation that's beginning to take place, and the dollar will continue to slide as these commodity prices continue to raise. And our politicians will come up with, like the Congress, will continue to come up with all types of crazy ideas to try to regulate the prices, like they're trying to regulate the commodities by preventing people from trading on a commodities exchange. Everybody's trying to get rid of this. Nobody's telling us the reason that commodities are so high is a result of the falling dollar, and the Fed will continue to print money to keep the banks solvent. They're not going to save anybody. They got to save these banks. They got to save J.P. Morgan. They got to save Lehman Brothers. All your Wall Street. They are basically insolvent, folks. And I like to say this, listen, the mortgage, they written like $3 or $4 trillion in mortgage bonds that are practically worthless. They're worth about 30 or 40% on the dollar on average. Listen, the banks and Wall Street only have about $1.5 trillion in equity. So basically, if you got $3 trillion of debt that you've been wiped out, that's down worth 30 cents on the dollar, and you got 1.6 equity, you insolvent. So what happens, the Fed is putting money into these banks to try to keep them afloat. Just like you got a man that's on a respiratory, all you do is try to, he's brain dead, but you just keep pumping blood through him just to keep him going. And that's basically what's transpiring here. And at some point, the system has to be purged. All the debt, everything it has to be started all over again. So that is where you're at in these next 3 to 6 months here in America. And also Europe. Europe's got its problems because Germany is the engine there, and you got Spain, Greece, and those southern and the Mediterranean. They all are insolvent, and what they want is more inflation. And Germany said, "Well, no, we remember the Weimar during Germany, the Weimar Republic, when they had wheelbarrows of money. They said, no, we're not going to have an inflation. And in fact, they have dollars that have been printed in Germany. They have a certain serial number on it. And the Germans are saying this, listen, we're only going to accept German marks. We're not going to accept marks from Greece because they're not worth the same thing. So again, the world is in a titsy financially. And as America falls, the whole thing falls because there is nobody of the exporters in the world, all the people that makes these factories in China, most of that stuff is shipped to America. Now, if the Americans ain't got no job, who gonna buy that stuff? So eventually you have a collapse of the economy. And when we say collapse, that doesn't mean that commerce doesn't stop. It just goes on at a slower pace. It's like during the Depression. You had, about 35-40% unemployment, but 60%, 70% of the people worked. but you had these massive soup lines. And the markets continued to go on. They didn't work its way up, but people did buy and trade, but they didn't make as much money, but they did make some money. But the vast majority of the middle class would be wiped out because of this. Because most middle class has two things. They have their savings in the stock market, which will be worth anything, and their savings in their house. So, in their house, and with those two gone, hell, they're impoverished. And there is no jobs available, not unless they start an infrastructure or a WPA program to rebuild these levees and stuff like that. And then that is if the Carlyle Group and the Bloodlines want it. So the people are going to have to really be pushed the pain to face these families and realize to get their rights, to fight this evil, they're going to have to rise up. And most people are still asleep or in a state of denial. And demonstrations won't do this as much as it is. You're going to have to do something quick and fast as this thing begins to melt down. But those are the basic things that will happen in the next 6 months. And I'll say this, those of you that are Americans, you should go to Bloomberg. Just look at the headlines. Bloomberg or Market Watch. Bloomberg would be a very good place to go because it gives you world news. And you can look at the financial news there, just the headlines, and you would see the things that are on Bloomberg, which is financial news to the financial community. They don't even show it on CBS, ABC, and Fox. It's not even shown there. Nobody told you that the stock market, June, was the lowest in the last, since the Great Depression. It lost 10% in stock market. The Dow Jones was down 10% in June, and that was the lowest decline since the 1930s when the stock market was down 18%. Did they tell you that? Nope. They ain't told you nothing. But they have all these little things about the zoo and environment, all this crazy stuff, when you don't know whether or not that you're going to have a job tomorrow morning. And that's the thing that you will have to understand, that your lifestyle is going to radically change. I don't care whether you're at the top or at the bottom. People at the bottom, well, they'll get more pain. The people in the middle get pain, and only about 4 or 5% of the people will be able to prosper from this situation because they have taken the right steps to see the storm coming. That's your gold, silver, your commodity. That's why everything is going up. Everybody's trying to flee financial assets and purchase things, hard assets, gold, silver, even lead, copper. Penny, bring me my copper bar here. They got up before I go there. They even selling copper bars now as a means of money. So, and this is
How much is that? How much is that?
I ain't gonna tell you. Well, copper is $4 a pound.
Okay, $4 a pound.
See, and here's 1 kilo, 2.2 pounds. This is a copper bar. They beginning to sell this because they say when silver runs out in America, you're going to have to use copper. Wow. See, and a copper penny, I told you, is worth more than 1 cent. It's almost worth 2 cents, 1982 pennies. And it's just to show you how crazy inflation is. So what the people decide to do, they're going to keep inflating this thing and inflate this thing until it can't be inflated no more.
Excellent, Dr. Warren. Give him a big hand.